Welcome to the Divine Mess, a sanctuary where the dance of the empowered masculine and the divine feminine unfolds in all its glory. Join us as we delve into the heart of these cosmic energies, exploring their attributes and the profound impact they have on our lives. From the raw power of the masculine to the nurturing embrace of the feminine, we uncover the balance that leads to a life of abundance and joy. Our hosts, Curdy Deva Perriman and Tina Ryan, are your guides on this spiritual journey who blend science with soul to offer practical wisdom for harnessing your divine energy. We celebrate the beauty and imperfection, embracing the chaos of life's journey as a catalyst for growth. The Divine Mess isn't just a podcast, it's a movement towards wholeness and self-expression. So come laugh with us, cry with us, and grow with us. Every episode is an invitation to explore the depths of your being and to live out loud, authentically, and unapologetically. Subscribe and join our community of seekers as we support each other in this extraordinary, messy adventure we call life. Well, good morning, everybody, and I get the delightful job, as always, with my fur children also wanting to introduce this morning because they're desperately waiting to move on out. Well, if this is the first time you're joining us, welcome to the Divine Mess. As you can tell, life is divinely messy, even on a Saturday morning. So for those of you, if you have only joined us for the first time, my name is Tina Marie, and I'm one of many things, but my greatest joy comes from teaching women how to separate themselves from the lives that they don't want and creating the lives that they do want. And it's come from a life of lessons for myself and being nearly 50 years in this delightful human suit that I have chosen to wear this time around. And it has been an absolute pleasure for the last couple of years to share my Netflix special with my very divine friend, Mr. Curdy David Perryman, who has transmuted into the divine being that is the cosmic alchemist, and his business is the Golden Temple, and he helps people transmute fear into love. And yes, I got it right. Only because I'm really good at giving the headlines before we get started. So I'll kick across to my gorgeous co-host, and he can have a little bit of a chat with you, and then we will get rolling for the day.
Yeah, well, thank you as always for this beautiful introduction, team. Like, it's good to have the just the two of us for a change, like just to
Yeah,
go back.
back to gross roots, mate.
Yes, that's what we call that episode. It's like going back to the roots, like just remembering who we are. And just like Dean said, like it's all about the transmutation and transformation that we went through on this journey, like with the delightful, like you like to say, the delightful guests that we had on. Everyone that came on taught us something, even about us, or made help us to remember.
Mm,
And just this morning, we were just having a conversation, and the message was loud and clear for both of us. I feel just
yes.
be love and just be love. And I feel like that's a really powerful and deep message where we can go on so different tangents. And like you were saying, like it's just remembering at the core who we are, and
Yeah.
it's love. And that's the purest and fullest expression of ourselves, I feel. That we as human, we always forget, I will say. It's not tend to forget. It's like we always forget because we go back to our human mind, which are clearly not the root of it. But we are bombarded, I feel, by those maybe screen or 3D perception of life, and we forget to take that leap of faith. Like sometimes we say like, okay, we can't see the other side, we can't see the bigger picture, we can't see like God's plan. And it's like we need the full plan, the detailed version of it, like how it's going to happen, especially the how it's going to happen, whom are we going to meet, what are we going to talk about, and we all go through that, including the both of us, like because especially
Constantly.
as
It's a
coaches,
constant thing, right?
yeah, and as coaches, you it's like there's that expectation that you don't go there, but actually you go there more, I feel sometimes. But it's just how you come back to that pure love, that divine love or light, however you want to name it, and just go within and just accept that, okay, this is just the mess happening outside or the chaos or the storm happening outside, but let's connect with the divine. And I feel that this episode is what we are focusing, well, try to focus on, because we know that it never goes that way because we go on so many tangents and we always have fun conversation. And I feel like that's what today's is all about, like just about fun conversation. And I feel like your dog has agreed to that and has given the blessing to it as well.
She's very desperate for love.
Mm,
So we're endeavoring to be in our fullest expression of the divine dog mother that we need to be this morning. But it's interesting when we think about being love and being in that highest expression. I think sometimes we can get quite caught up in our humanness and only see things at the surface instead of going, oh, we're here to press those buttons again to make sure that we have learnt the lesson, that we have recognized within ourselves the spaces for growth and for healing and being the catalyst for others in their growth and their healing journey, irrespective of where they're starting out. Whether they don't even realize that all of these things that are happening to them are for their growth and for their healing. It's challenging at times to be the silent observer and watch and go, yep, I see that for what that is. Do you? And also too, when you come from the parental side of things, witnessing growing experiences for your children and having the ability to allow those things to play out, irrespective of whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, understanding that there is a need for them to go through that experience. And if you put a barricade in the way of that experience playing out, it's only going to show up again somewhere else. So we almost need to allow them to get that universal punch in the face for them to wake up to themselves and to realize that, oh, okay, yes, I needed to go through that. And I think my youngest son would recognize it a little bit faster for what it is. He's been in a process of people falling away and other people coming back into his sphere of influence and going, why do you think that is, mate? Where do you think you could be bigger and better? And we both, I think, had a gentle reminder of that needing to play in that 360 view and being the eagle above all of the Netflix specials and the divine mess, and standing back and going, yeah, I don't need to get involved in that, or I don't need to get caught up or get swayed by the simpleness of all of that. There are bigger things that I am here to do, and getting caught up in the smallness of your life is not it's not my journey. It's very easy though, like, it's so easy when you're in a workplace or in your relationships to get caught up in the smallness, the drama, the chaos, inconveniences of life. But once you start going down that road, like we have been going for quite some time, I think my journey's been probably for quite some time, but recognizably for like the last 17 years. And it has been the punch in the face, the roller coaster, the feeling like perhaps sometimes I should have been put in a small padded room and been given some time just to think about where or feel into where I wanted to go, whereas so many times I wanted to avidly control the situation. But I think both of us have learnt now quite well that the trying to have a tight grip on everything doesn't allow the universe to flow in its divine way, and it will be like a sledgehammer, like the police breaking through your front door. It's not stopping for anybody. Doesn't matter how many locks or barricades that you put on that door, it's coming through, and it's going to wake you up eventually. So yes, it was very nice to get that quiet knock on our front door this morning instead of the
Bang.
policeman with the barricade,
Yeah.
breaking on through. I like having these really timely reminders of going, you're here for more, and stop softening your language to make it more palatable to others. I'm a pretty straight shooter, I think, most of the time. I do try to sometimes put the United Nations diplomatic spin on things. And I think now that I need to let that career go and be the Joe Rogan of my own life and to just call shit as I see it and going, oh, well, yes, it's not my circus and not my monkeys, but I feel that I'm just going to say my piece. You can take it with a grain of salt or you can use it for what it's intended. I'm just simply the channel for the message. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that what you said. It reminded, like when you were sharing, it reminded me of a couple of videos that I watched over the week, and it's like resonated with what you said. Like one of them was saying, like, when you start healing, you start seeing people for who they are. Like, really, you can start seeing the trauma or the wounded child, and it's like you're in that space where should I call it out to you or should I give you that space so that you realize it on. And I feel personally for me it's like I'm reaching with some people and I already reach with other people, like with most people I would say, that I reach that space where I say, this is your journey. And that's one of the hardest lesson for me, I feel, is like to allow people to go on their journey and not call it out as it is in the way I'm meaning calling like the trauma or saying maybe that's what you should focus on. Maybe that's where you should focus on. And you should consider like reflecting on that. But it's just like giving that space. Uh Even with my clients, I notice I do that way more now. Just allowing them to be themselves and just say, well, even if that's going to take you, I don't know, like a year or two to realize that, I'm not going to do that anymore. That give you all the answers from where it's coming. If it's coming from a loving space, then yes, I will allow it and share it. But if it's coming from the human mind and saying, well, I have a list of to-do lists to give to you, like step one, step two, step three, and this is what's going to happen on this step. And there's 1.1 that may happen. And you keep doing that with people, and that's how I used to feel. I remember when I started psychology, studying psychology, because you start learning all those theories and you start like seeing, oh, this is what's happening with this person. And then you learn another theory is like, oh, maybe that's what's happening with them again. But for me, it's like, no, you have to give space to people to learn the lesson. Because for me now, I understand it's like, in a way, according to my cultural belief, it's like you're interfering with their karma. So it's like, to translate it, is like you're getting in their way of their own healing. And you're taking on board their karma by doing that. You're taking on their, in maybe Tina's language, the way we speak, it's like you're taking their shit. You're taking on their shit and your response, and you're taking that and you're dealing with that when they are not. And recently I had one client and she had a really go at me for that. And she was like, oh, you're not helping. And you're not helping at all. And because she went into her inner child being so wounded, especially with masculine energy. And she said, like, yeah, you're just not helping. You're just telling me to do stuff like those affirmation are not working. Those meditation never works. And I say, yeah. So right now, what you're saying is like, I go to the gym. The, the trainer tells you, the trainer is doing the heavy lifting, and you are expecting to like slim down, have those six pack if you want them, have the bicep that you want, but it's the trainer doing the heavy lifting. That's what you're saying. And I feel like sometimes some client that came to you, they are expecting that. And you keep going, and then she said like she went to another coach and a therapist, and I say, yeah, you're going to other trainers and expecting the same result. You're not willing to put in the work. It's only it work, the inner work only when you work it, when you work at it, when you work on it. Because even by listening to the podcast or any other person, like she was like, for example, I'm just taking her as an example because it's quite recent. Listening to Dre Dispenza, Lewis Howes, great. I said, awesome. 7 to 8 hours listening to them. Great. And I say, what did you learn? What did you apply? What is the one thing that you applied? Nothing. There was nothing. And I said, so do you expect that working for you? And it's like you're doing like 5 minutes of affirmation, 5 minutes of, like I was reading that in the book of The Power of Subconscious Mind, I think, by Joseph Murphy, and says you can't do like 5 minutes of affirmation in the morning and then for the rest for 8 hours and 9 hours complain about what you have affirmed in the morning. And then you go back in the evening and then you reaffirm and you say, oh, it's not working. And I feel like that's where we go into our human mind. We do that as well, but it's just we may be more aware of when it's happening, like that in the conversation we had earlier is like taking you out of the situation and actually seeing like, like in those memes on Instagram where you see your inner child, your higher self, the universe, the spirit guide, you see all those avatars, and you can actually take you out of the body and see, oh, this is your wounded inner child. This is where you can work on. And we become aware of that. Even when we have a chat with someone and we look into those signs from the universe, even like texting, like texting each other and say, this is what's happening, this is how I'm feeling, and then we'll say like, do you want the real like the proof? And
Do you want the do you want
and
the do you want the truth, babes, or
yeah, and I
would
love
you like
how
the
Tina
sugar-coated
does that.
shit?
Tina say disclaimer, I don't want the universe BS today. So just disclaimer, I don't want to hear anything. Just letting it out. And some days we need that. We just need
Yeah.
to vent. And that's what I was telling some coaches that I'm leading is some days, because it happened in a meeting on Tuesday. Everyone was down because there's something big that happened in India. there was a major rape case, and that's putting everyone down, like
Mm.
even the coaches, because that's what only been talked on the radio, on the news, being shared on social media. Um, there's a big on thing on women right coming into play, and all the coaches are getting drained because that's what they are constantly hearing. And in that meeting, I said, because no one wanted to share, and I said, look, in that moment, and I said it like this: let's screw the positivity, let's screw it, F off the universe for now, feel it. You know what? We go down, we feel it, we feel like crap right now, we do feel it. Let's feel it all together. And then we can think of something else. If at the end we feel like moving on, then. But right now, let's just talk about it and share whatever is on. And
Mm.
you can see like it took a long time to make a shift, but it was like a slow one. But it doesn't matter. It started somewhere. And I feel it goes back to that message. Like, how can you be love in that moment when something so big is happening in your country and you are being personally affected or emotionally affected, and your clients are constantly putting that on.
Mm.
And I feel that's where our spiritual practice are so important as coaches,
Yeah. And
and
it was
that's what.
something I learned a couple of weeks ago too. Like, for everything that we have each traversed, and similarly for me, in my younger years being assaulted by my grandfather, it's as humans we see it experience it in singularity, but because of the duality of life we associate a meaning to it. It's either good or it's bad, or it makes me angry or it makes me sad, happy, sad, all of those sorts of things. And it wasn't until someone had reframed it for me that if I hadn't experienced that in my life, and if I hadn't then waited 10 years to tell my mother what had happened, and because of, I feel, because of my mother's own trauma, she saw me as this person that was independent, that could handle really bad crap happening to her. So she didn't feel that I needed the stroking and the hair holding and baby, it's okay, and let's go get you some counseling and doing all of that sort of stuff. I was left to figure it all out by myself. And because of that, I was loved. Although most people would go, you're absolutely off your rocks for thinking that that experience was created because people loved you. You know, my mother loved me, so she left me with a man that she knew had those tendencies. You know, she loved me. And because she loved me, it caused me to become the woman I am today, and the way in which I parent my kids, and I, co-parent with my partner now with his children, and the way in which I see things in life. I just have a very unique way of looking at other people's experiences and going, well, if this, everything gives you a positive and a negative out of it, right? So, the negative was, I thought that my mother was completely indifferent to my suffering and to my inability to form a really decent relationship with someone, and, have a shitty marriage and do all the rest of it. But at the same time, it taught me how to take care of myself and how to be independent and how to be extremely loving to my children and to my friends and to the people that surrounded me. Like, if I didn't have those unique skills birthed because of that experience, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be having these, amazing conversations with you and all these beautiful people that come into our world, I wouldn't be with the man I'm with today. I wouldn't be experiencing what I'm experiencing now. And I wouldn't be at that point in my life where I'm just going, fuck it. I'm just going to tell people how I see it. If you agree with my perspective on life, let's play, come jump in, and I'll help you reframe your experience too. But it's not going to come with fluffy kittens and, the sweet shop and pretty bow ties. It's going to come with punches in the face and some moments where you actually have to feel the shitty stuff for you to be able to, grow and evolve into something new. It's a constant conversation we have with our kids all the time. If you get shit easily, you're going to be like a willow in the wind. You are going to bend and you are going to break. But if life creates a little bit of resistance for you and it puts you through some trials and makes you work hard at things, then there is such joy and happiness and appreciation for the things that you do have because they weren't handed to you. We all would like to think that it would be nice being richy rich and having everything handed to us on a pretty silver plate and, stacks of dollar bills and beautiful cars and things in the driveway. But if we haven't earned them, we have no appreciation for them. If we haven't had a crappy relationship, we have no appreciation for a beautiful one. And if we haven't had, like in my case, a struggle to fall pregnant and have babies, then you don't have the level of appreciation that you have for your children or whatever your trials have been. I'm sure that they have given you a level of appreciation for the things that you do have in your life, like trials with friendships. If you don't experience those, how do you know when a really great friend turns up and asks you honest questions and sees more for you and wants you to be bigger and better than who you are currently playing? You're playing a role and it's a set of instructions and programs, the same as you would write in a computer programming manual. They can be changed, and if you want to rewrite your own pathways and create a new program for your life, you have to do it. But it's going to come at a cost. And the spiritual journey is quite a lonely one sometimes. It's something where you can feel like the only mofo on the planet who is going through the muck and the shit, and you're wading through your own trauma, ancestral trauma, the trauma of your parents, your grandparents, you name it. But you're the blessed one for deciding that the buck stopped at your front door. You're the one to make it different, to create a new life for the people that come from you moving forward, or the people that come into your life moving forward. You don't have to be what everybody else wants you to be. You can be something completely different. It just takes courage and persistence. And like David said, it's not a 5-minute thing in the morning and a 5-minute thing at night. It is living and breathing it every moment. And yes, it was so much easier when I was asleep and awake in my own life. So much easier because people were just assholes. And, they did fucked up shit, and that's just life. But the minute that you have that light switch switched on, and then you go, oh yeah, but like they've probably gone through some stuff themselves, and 9 times out of 10, the shit that they throw on you has got nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And then it's like, oh, sometimes I wish I wasn't awake. But you know what? I'm grateful that I am, because I find beauty and joy in simple conversations with my good mate who sits opposite me, and the gorgeous humans that I have found in the last couple of years once I removed the people who thought that for whatever reason, or they were endeavoring to show me that I wasn't more when I knew that I was. But we keep our light on the dimmer switch, on the lowest possible setting. We're not allowing ourselves to be in the fullness of who we are. I think my gorgeous friend on another podcast had said something about it. It's not our darkness that scares us, it's our light, and it's our ability to shine so brightly that all the scary dark forces want to run and hide. But they are attracted to the light, don't get me wrong. Like the mozzies and the bugs in the bug zapper, they want to come close. They really want to come close, and it's up to you. Do you zap them? Do you give them the truth? Do you give them the reality? Or do you allow them to pass on by and learn their lesson somewhere else? Like, you know, we're so lucky, Mr. D, you and I.
It's so true. It's so true. When you were telling like about the flies coming together, like I could actually visualize it and see that happening where it's like getting burnt, like they are getting burnt and it's like not there. They can see like they can't approach you, and I feel like it goes back to I think Maya Angelou who speak about that. He says, especially on the spiritual journey, it's like you feel you're walking alone, but there are 10,000 behind you, like
Yeah.
about their ancestors, the God, the spirit, whatever you name it, is protecting you so much that we can't see, we don't know. And they are doing the battles, or they are, because there was a TV ad that showed, like a boy was crossing the street and it's like angels, like people holding him back or protecting him. And it says like that's how your angels work, like that's how you're protected. And people get scared of doing that, I feel, especially because they have been taught to do everything on their own, you know. It's always on your shoulders, it's always you taking the decision making, it's always on your power. And that's how we are brought up. But it's never about trusting the universe power, like, and that's way more and infinite, limitless, not like our mind. And when you were saying like about being awake, you just woke to your life and not being asleep. For me, it's like the Matrix movie that you're talking about. It's like just like you have been disconnected, like we have all been disconnected and connected to a reality that we created, that society created, and where most people are living. But now I can see like there's a shift in consciousness and people are awakened to it. And sometimes there have been that talk that spiritual people tend to judge at first, like you're not awake, I'm awake. But it's not that. For me, it's not that. For me, it's like it's not coming from a place of judgment. And that's, for me, it's coming from a loving space. It depends how you're saying it and especially with which energy you're saying that. If you think that's judgment, then there's more. Judgment Detox will be a good book to read about. You know, like the book
Yep.
by Gabby Bernstein. I would
Yep.
highly recommend that. And she always say that's one of the book that is least worked on. Like Judgment Detox is somewhere people don't. want to go because we tend to live in so much judgment. Like you go on social media, we judge all like the celebrities and how they look and how their life is going. You don't know what's truly happening behind those.
No.
And even we do that with sometimes, other people we see on the street. We don't know what's happening in their mind or in their life. And that's why there's that quote that often comes on my newsfeed is like, you don't know someone else's story, so don't be kind to them.
Mm,
You just know. And sometimes just saying like, I believe in you,
mm,
that you can make it can make such a difference. And yesterday I heard that is I had such a contrast in feedback from client. The one I was telling you earlier, and then yesterday I got another client saying like, thank you so much. She finished her book now in 2 months. She wrote a book in 2 months, like a whole freaking book in 2 months.
yeah.
And it was like a massive release for her. And she said like, it's you believe in me. Like that's what it takes sometimes on that spiritual journey.
It's just one
Someone to
person.
just one person say, I believe in you that you can make it.
Mm,
Because we all know how the roads is going to be. We all been there when you done the ancestral healing, the trauma healing, whatever healing you want to name it,
yeah.
however many labels you want to go, we all go through the same wave of emotions. And as human, we can identify to that. And I was telling that to my clients as well. I, I can't, maybe I can't imagine or visualize your situation. Maybe I won't be able to connect on the gender base as well, like from
Mm,
male to female. But the emotion, that's something I know. That's something I can resonate.
mm,
Whatever thought you're going through, that's something I can resonate.
yeah.
Because I'm human as well. Even if you think I'm the universe, but I'm not. Like I'm not your universe. I'm my universe in my way, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just believing in creating your own universe. And if you want to put some dragons in it, why not? If you want to put some unicorns or minions, you want to call it Fred, whatever you want, Batman, whatever is coming up for you, just call it and just do it. Do it your way.
Whatever works. You
Mm,
know,
exactly.
it's interesting, but I have three questions I'd really love to ask you.
Mhm.
Like, because we don't ever interview one another, so it's just
Yeah.
number one would be, what has been the greatest piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Oh, do I have to answer
Yeah.
that?
That's how an interview works, right?
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been in one, but just be you and be the light. I would say that's the one. Yeah.
Who was the profound human that doled that bit of advice out, or was that just garnered over time?
I think my dad has said it in many different ways.
Yeah.
Uh, he's the only person I can see coming up. Um, because he said it in different ways, in so many different ways, but there were obviously online teachers or online mentors who said it as well.
Mm,
But for me, he's the first person that told me that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that. Mhm.
Okay. And what's, can you name something, a profound moment in your life where you've had this, like, oh, okay, that's new, and I think I would kind of guess, but I could be completely wrong as to what that might be. But do you have something that comes to mind as being profound and unexpected and life changing?
Mm, I had many moments. I would say I know I will have more of
Mm,
those. That's something for me. It's more now. I understand it's just a remembrance. Um, I think like the first time, I'm just going way, 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 way back in time. So it seems like way, way, way back in time. It will take me 6 years ago, I think, when I first encountered like Gabby's work, The Universe Has Your Back. That will be
Yeah,
that first, maybe first, not first, maybe that's the start of a journey.
yeah,
Um, just realizing like just to be the light, and it was like embracing the secret teaching as well. But for me, it will be, I wrote it in the book when I was in my teenage years, and I had this moment of really low vibe and like wanted to, like to take my life out, and just had really that moment and just hear a voice saying like, it's not your time, like you have something else to do. That
yeah,
was something new. Because in that moment, it's like, am I hearing it right? Or is it in my head? Is it from which movie did I watch? Like you start considering. For me, that will be a really pivotal, like a huge change in my life, shift in that moment. Obviously, the recent one.
mm,
There's a lot of them. So
yeah,
that's why I went way back in time, I would say. Yeah.
yeah. I was sort of thinking more along the lines of when you sort of chose yourself
Yeah.
and
I know which one
you kind of moved away from everything that you knew
Mm,
and you chose a different life.
yeah.
I think that for me, that's it's brave and it's really, for most people it's scary and the unknown
Mm,
is more a thing that they don't want to encounter, but you kind of listen to that soul voice that you have and it said,
yeah.
let's go.
Mm,
Let's try this on for size and see, right? That's that whole you don't know until you know, and if you don't try, you're never going to know.
yeah. I feel
Um,
I've been hearing that voice for a long time,
yeah,
to just take that leap of faith. And I know which moment you're speaking about, but for me, like that hearing that voice first time, that was back. That was the
yeah,
change.
yeah,
That was something really new at that then. Because
mm,
the time we discussed about, I know that was a major thing for me to do, like to take that leap of faith and say, no, I can't live that life anymore.
yeah,
Because it was just like fake news, like it's just like you're living fake news.
yeah,
Like Donald Trump speak about fake news. But it's just what I was living, and I was not aligned with the people I was with. I was not aligned in the direction I was going to, and I could see how um like it would have been detrimental to me.
yeah,
Like I was literally spiritually killing myself, like suffocating so much
yeah,
back then, I would say. Because even my parents told me off way after that. Yeah, finally you saw it, you know. And I feel like everyone knew it in a way, and I knew it, of course. But to accept that in that moment, and right now I see a friend going through the same thing, and I have to shut up. Even if
hard,
I,
isn't it?
even if I had, I told her the truth.
Mm,
I said, this is my perspective, but you want to have a go at it again, that's your choice. You have to bear the consequence. And I
yeah,
said, I bear the consequence of being called an a-hole, and uh, like being selfish. Yeah, I had to make that choice at that time, being selfish. It didn't end the way I wanted in a very gentle way. It went really wrong,
mm,
but it was divinely timed for me.
yeah,
Yeah, even if I see it now, yeah. Uh, but definitely it was one of those moments because like I told you, but for me my first remembrance will be always that voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, last question.
Hmm. Yeah.
Third time's the charm. What? is the greatest thing that someone has ever done for you?
Oh, that will be good to my parents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like first of all, my mom loving me unconditionally. She never, even how many hug moment I had with her, and she will become like, um, I don't want to say like the Cali version, more like you have the
That's what I saw the minute that
yeah.
you were talking about that. I'm like,
So
oh,
for people who
Ruby would
don't
be going
know,
full force.
for people who don't know Cali, Google the image Kali, Kali. Don't be scared of what you see. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
But it's one of the purest form of love for me.
yeah,
And now I understand that. But my mom liked loving me unconditionally no matter what. No
yeah,
matter what. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, my dad having my back always, like always believing in me. Like
yeah.
even when times I still remember there was one time I still remember that vividly. We were supposed to go to a wedding, and I was like in my, I think 9 or 10 years old. Yeah, and I had a really bad nightmare. Like I had vivid dreams since I was a kid, and I feel it was a past life one. Um, and it was like a happening in a war zone,
Mm,
something like that. And I woke up like really crying, and my dad came to me and just hold me and just say everything is going to be all right. I didn't want to go to the wedding because my eyes were puffed. I was like crying so much. And even if I'm dark skin, you can still see my
mm,
eyes when they're puffed and they're red, you know. And I was light dark, I would say, you know.
mm.
I was like back then. So I like to say I was like 30% cocoa back then. You know. Now, now I went to the zone of 95%. So just saying for people trying to listen in. Yeah. And just that moment, he holding me
Mm,
and saying like everything is going to be all right, and just it's not like like soothing my back.
yeah,
And just in that moment, that's one of those moments that I can say. But always believing in me, even if I was failing my high school, and he was a high school teacher. Um, so for him, I assume that was really hard to see, because my sister was performing so well, and she's really good academically, like she's really intelligent, uh,
yeah,
in that sense, like, and but I couldn't care less about academics for me, so that was hard for my parents on that sense, but they never give up on me ever. And I know, I'm sure of it,
yeah,
that they will always have my back. So for me, that's the greatest thing, even in this lifetime or how many lifetime, I always say to myself, since I was a kid, I always say that if I if I can do what my parents did for me, like at least 1%, I have lived my life.
mm,
Like give back to people in that.
yeah,
And that's have been since a kid. I'm telling you, like since I was 5 or 6, I was thinking like that. And I always thought like that. That's just telling you what they did. Whatever I will give back to the world, for me,
mm,
according to my standard, it will just be the tip of the iceberg, what my
yeah,
parents did for me.
yeah,
Because so much sacrifice went to for my dreams.
mm,
And I know what they did. I am aware of it now. Maybe back then I was not so much aware, but I know how
mm,
much they sacrificed their dreams for me.
yeah.
So that's my answers to your question. Thank you so much.
My
Yeah,
pleasure. It's
yeah.
always interesting, right? Because you ask the challenge for all of you listening. Take
Mm,
those questions, go and approach somebody you don't know
mm,
and ask them those
yeah.
questions. Greatest piece of advice, most profound moment, and the best thing someone's ever done for you.
Mm.
you will have phenomenal conversations.
Yeah.
Phenomenal conversations. Just like, and trust me, when you ask people those questions, you will get an insight into yourself.
Yeah.
There'll be a message in it for you.
Mm.
But just experiment. Go have a chat with someone in a coffee shop, start a conversation, tell them that you like their shoes, tell them
Yeah.
that you love their handbag, tell their haircut looks amazing, something. Start the conversation, then ask
Mm.
them. You'll be surprised at what you get.
Well, like since I don't know about you much,
Great.
see,
2 seconds.
the dog is agreeing or not. We're just having a moment right now.
Dad's home. The joys. The joys of fur children and
Yeah,
teenage children.
I
Divinely
think
messy.
it is. It is. I think the universe is saying like, let's wait for the next episode to hear your answers. Because I was saying like, I since I don't know about you much, what's happening in your life. So I would love to hear your version as well.
Sure.
Shall we wait for the next episode or shall we go at it right now?
Till the next episode. Let's
Oh,
keep something in the
that's not
bag.
fun. That's not fun. Like, what are you... So Tina, tell me more about you.
Mhm.
No, but we'll
Yes.
shall keep that. Thank you for those question and the space for today. Really appreciate it.
Yes. And thank you for yours, as always.
Mm, No,
Such good
it's
fun to come back to where we started, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I feel it was divinely time as well, and
Yeah.
I feel we'll introduce those episodes like in timely manner. So
Mm.
when the universe decides those episodes will be published, they will, and
Great.
it's meant to be there forever. And for
Great.
anyone listening, whenever you're listening, that's when you're meant to
That's
be.
when you need it the most.
And thank you for tuning in. I will leave the last few words for Tina.
As always, we love you. Thank you so much for your most precious resource, which is your time. And we look forward to chatting with you next week on the Divine Couch. But until then, be love. Don't play at love. And we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
Ciao for now.